Hey, what's up? Welcome to this new video. This one is paper 2-1 of May-June 2010. Again, this one is also a requested paper. Now, with that being said, let's move on to the questions. Here we have question number 1 from section A. So, we have a function is defined by f of x equal to x minus 2 over 5. Okay, part 1, we have to find the value of f of 7. So basically, we have to replace the value of x by 7 in the main equation. So here you will have 7 minus 2 over 5, and that will be 5 over 5, which will be 1. Now for part B, we are given that f of t is equal to t, find the value of t. So here we have the value of x is now the value of t. So replace, you will have t minus 2 over 5 is equal to t. So we have an equation right now. We have to solve for the value of t. So first thing first, we have to cross multiply. You will have what? T minus 2, and that will be 5t. Send t over here, you will have minus 2 is equal to 5 minus 1 is 4t. So finally, you will have t is equal to minus half. Now for this one, we have to find f inverse of x. So first step is to let y is equal to f of x, which is x minus 2 over 5. Now we have to make x become the subject of the formula. So we have to first cross multiply. 5y is equal to x minus 2. X will be 5y plus 2. So f inverse, which is in terms of x, have to be 5x plus 2. Okay, and that will be your question number 1. Now let's move on to question number 2. Wasim owns a shop. The table shows the cost price, this is the cost price, and the selling price of 3 items in his shop. Okay, good to know. Now part 1, calculate his percentage profit when he sells the trampoline. So trampoline here, we have selling price, cost, so profit will be the selling price minus the cost divided by the cost times 100 to find the percentage profit. 66 minus 48 divided by 48 times 100, that should give you 37.5% for the percentage profit. Now for part B, Wasim makes a profit of 30% when he sells a swing. Swing is here, selling price is here. So we have to find the cost of the swing. So again, for this question, we have to look at this step by step. So here we have the cost, which is x, we don't know. And here we have the selling price. Right. Now we understand that the selling price, he makes a profit of 30%. So we like to think of the initial price, it will be the 100% price, which is always the initial price. Now, profit will be plus 30%, that will be 130%. So now by using ratios, we can find the value of x pretty easy. So 130% is equal to 1950. Now we have to find 100, that will be 1950 over 130 times 100. So let's see what do we have. That will be 15. So the value of x here will be $15 for the initial price. So again, the main concept here is the initial price will always to be 100%. Now because he has a profit of 30%, which means the selling price will be 130% of the initial price. Okay, anyways. Now for part C, in a sale, the selling price of a bike is reduced by 20%. Okay, we have to find the sale price of the bike. Okay, so right here. So in a sale, the selling price is this. It was reduced by the selling price. Selling price was 110. It was reduced by 20%. So again, from the selling price, we are looking at this as the initial price. It will be 100%. Now reduced by 20%, that will be 80%. So find the sale price. Pretty easy. Again, use the ratio. So 100 is equal to 110. So 80 will be 110 over 100 times 80. That will be $88 for the new sale price. Okay. Now for part 2, we have a Thursday special. We have save 10% on the sale price. Okay, Jaspreet bought a bicycle on Thursday. Okay, calculate the difference between the amount he paid and the cost price. So pretty easy. Now the sale price on that day, the sale price is $88. Now save 10% on that price. How much will that be? So save, you will save 10%, you will save 10% times this, I will give you $8.8. Let's check. 10% with 10 over 100 times 88, that will be $8.8. So the price he will pay will be what? Will be 88 minus 8.8, that will give you 79.2. So the main idea here is that Jaspreet, he paid this much for the bike. Now, find the difference between the amount he paid, which is this much, 79.2, and the cost. The cost was 82. So what is the difference? Let's find out. That will be 82 minus answer. That will be $2.8. $2.8 will be the difference between those two prices. Again, so these kind of questions are definitely not hard. However, you have to look at them step by step and solve them accordingly so you understand exactly what it is being asked for, right? Because here we have the cost as the initial price. Here we have the selling price as the initial price. Always just know what to look out for and what is the question asking you for to find the answer. That will be question number 2. Let's move on to question number 3. The diagram below is a sketch of a rectangular field W, X, Y, Z. Okay, now WX is 65 meters. Okay, and XY is 40 meters. Okay, now part 1, we have to use a scale of 1 centimeter to 5 meters. Make a scale drawing of the field. Okay, so first we have to find the length and the width in our drawing. So first thing first, let's convert. It is 65 divided by 5 will be what? That will be 13. So the length will be 13. How about the width? The width will be 8. So this will be the length and the width of the rectangle in your scale drawing. Now this one is a locus question, so I guess I will have to use a sheet of paper right here. Just give me one sec. Okay, so I'll be using this one. So let's do step by step. So I realized that let me begin with my width. So the width will be 8. So I'll do 8 here. And the length was found should be 13. 13 should be somewhere over here. So the idea here is you have to draw a rectangle with those length and width according to the scale given to you. That will be this. And finally, that will be this one. So now you have to label the points as well, the sides. So this is the rectangle you guys should be obtaining. This should be W here. This should be X. Should be Y. And Z. This should be 13. And this should be 8 centimeters. Because remember, the scale is 1 centimeter to 5 meters. This is the scale we're using to draw this rectangle. Now for part B, so on this drawing, we have to construct the locus of all the points that are, first one, it should be equidistant from Z and Y. So from 2 points have to be equidistant. It means we have to draw a perpendicular bisector of the line ZY. ZY is this one, so we have to draw a perpendicular bisector for this line. So let me find my tool here. Should be pretty simple. So first thing first, go to one of those points. can't seem to find a pencil, so anyways, let's try with this pen. So we have to go to either one of those points. So first thing first, measure a distance which is more than halfway of the line, right? And then draw one here and one at the bottom. That's the main idea. Now again, with the same distance, go to your point Z, intersect the arc on the top and at the bottom. Okay, now we are good. As you can see, we have 2 points. We have 1 point here and 1 point here. So we have to join them, and this will be the line representing the locus from part 1, which is the perpendicular bisector of the line ZY. So let me see if that should be inside or outside. In the field, should be inside. Right here. So that will be part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, has to be 45 m from x. Now this is meters. Divide by 5, that should be 9 centimeters from x. So pretty easy. First thing first, you have to measure 9 centimeters from your ruler. Right? Oh, sorry about that. So 9 centimeters will be about this. And you have to go to your point x to draw this arc inside of the field. Okay. That is part 2 of the question. Let's move on to part 3. This has to be arc with radius, and center has to be x. Now for part 2, hence label a region R of the points that are nearer to Z than Y and not more, so less than 45 from x. Okay, so first thing first, has to be nearer to Z, so Z is here, Y, so this has to be on this side, nearer to Z, right? And then has to be inside of the arc, so it has to be this region right here. So let me shade that region. This will be something like this. Okay, this will be your answer for part 2. Closer to Z, but inside of this region for the arc. Okay, now let's move on to part C of the question. We have a post P is placed in the region of R. Okay, so inside of R we have a post P so that it is at the maximum distance from Y. Okay, now a post Q is placed at the midpoint of the line ZY. So Q, the line ZY, the midpoint will be exactly here. This is the point Q, the post Q. Now we have here as well, we have also a post P. It is at the maximum from Y. So post P, so label the post P and Q. So where will be the post P? So this is your region R. Obviously by observation you can see the post P has to be right here. It will be the maximum distance from the position of Y. Right, now that will be the 2 position. Now part 1, by measurement we have to find the actual distance between P and Q in the field. So let's do that by measurement. So from what I can see, there should be P here, Q here. For me it shows to be 8.5, so 8.5 centimeters. So P and Q, 8.5 centimeters, which means according to my real scale we have to multiply by 5. That will be 42.5, and this shows to be meters in the actual field. 42.5. Again, this is according to my drawing. Your scale may be a bit different, but it should be about the same numbers. Okay. Now this is part 1 here, which is 42.5 meters in the actual field. Now for part 2, find the obtuse angle PQ makes with QY. Where's PQ? PQ is right here, QY is right here. So let's first join those two. So we can see exactly what we are trying to find, right? So this one is also by measurement, so 1 by 1. This will be this. And this will be QY. So we're trying to find the obtuse angle, which is this one, between the so PQ makes with QY. So we have to find this angle. So by measurement, so we have to use the protractor. Now again, I don't know if you guys have done locus already for paper 1. If that's the case, then you guys will not be getting a question on locus for paper 2 anyways. But it is good to know how to do those questions step by step. So here we go to the center, which is Q. Then we have to measure the angle. So here we have a 0 until this point is what? This is the point right here, which is 105, 6 and 7. So 107 for the value here for the angle according to my measurements. Now your angle may be different a bit, but it should be around the same range. So that will be 107 according to my measurement. That is question number 3. Okay, so locus done. Let's move on to question number 4. Me personally, actually, I don't like doing locus, but hey, it is what it is. Let's move on to the next. So here we have to express as a single fraction in its simplest form, so pretty easy. The first thing we realize is that the base are different. So here we have x plus 3, here we have 2x minus 1. So we have to combine them together. The first thing to do is to multiply them by each other. You will have this times this. Okay, now next step is to cross multiply. So 4 times this will give you 8x minus 4. Here we have minus. That will become minus 3x minus 9. Now we have to simplify. Let's continue on top. 8 minus 3, that will be 5x. Minus 4 minus 9 will be minus 13. And everything over the same thing, which is x plus 3, 2x minus 1. Now again, you can always expand and find the simplest form. I will leave that up to you guys to simplify. So expand the brackets, you will find the answer. Now for part B, it is given that k is equal to this. Express m in terms of k, l, n, n. So we have to make m become the subject of formula. So first thing first, we have to send this over here. That will become k squared 2lm plus 3n. Then we have 2lm become k squared minus 3n. Then we have m will be finally k squared minus 3n divided by 2l. This is m as the subject of the formula. Now for part C, we have to solve this equation correct to 2 decimal place. So again here we have to solve a quadratic equation using the formula method. A will be 3, B is minus 4, and C will be minus 16. Right? So x have to be minus b, will be this one. Then we have b squared minus 4 times a times c. That will be 208, and divided by 2a, that should be 6. Again, this is only the formula that I'm using to solve this question. Nothing magic here, just the formula, replace and solve. So 4 plus root of 208 divided by 6, that will be 3.07, or 4 minus root of 208 divided by 6 minus 1.74. So we have 2 possible values for the value of x. And that will be your question number 4. Okay, so let's move on to question number 5. Ben travels to work by bus, by bicycle, or by car. So he has 3 methods of traveling to work: bus, bicycle, or car. Now the chance that he travels by bus on any day is 0.5, okay? And the chance he travels by bike is 0.2. So obviously the chance he travels by bus will be the remaining, which is 0.3, right? Which will be a 1 minus 0.5 minus 0.2 will be 0.3. So chance going by bus, bike, we're by car. That will be 0.3. Because here we have bus, bike already, we have to find the car one in the end. Now question, the tree diagram below shows some of the chances of the possible journeys on Monday and Tuesday. Okay, 2 days. So we have to first find the value of P, Q, and R. So R will be 0.3 as seen above. So R is this. Now this will be the same thing. Bus will be 0.5, Q will be 0.2, and R is 0.3 as we have seen before. Okay, that will be question number 1. Pretty easy. The reason why is because it is always going to be constant because it is on any day. It doesn't change on either day. So every time it will be the same values for every day. That's the main idea behind these values that we have right here. Now for part 2, I'll find the chance that Ben travels to work, part 1, by a bus on Monday and Tuesday. So bus and bus. So bus and bus will be 0.5 times 0.5 according to the tree diagram. That should be 0.25. We can check. That is part A. Now for part 2, by a bus on one day and by bike on the other day. So it could be, by logic, could be bus and bike. So and bike, or could be bike and bus. That's the main idea behind this. So let's do one by one. So for the first option, could be bus. So bus first, 0.5. And bike. Bike is 0.2. Or is plus. Then we have bike, which is 0.2. And bus. Bus will be 0.5. 0.2 times 0.2, so 0.5 times 0.2 plus 0.2 times 0.5. That will be 0.2 as your answer. So simply using your logic to solve this kind of question, you should be able to do step by step and then find the corresponding values. Now for part B, the Venn diagram shows the 3 means of transport used by a group of workers during a week. Okay, that's good to know. We have bus, bike, and car. Now, how many are used both a bus and a car but not a bicycle? So let's see. How many of those use both a bus, so both a bus and car, so bus and car. Car is here but not a bicycle, so it will be only this one, right? So 17 use only bus and car but not a bike. That will be part 1. Now moving on to part 2, twice as many only, so only here, that's very important, use a bike as only use a bus. So where's that? So twice, so here we have, let's call bike as so let's call bus as X. Let's call bus X. Bus will be here X. And we know that twice as many use bike, so exactly from this we understand that the bike have to be 2x because twice as many use that. Now everything together we have 78 workers. How many were bus only? Pretty easy. So basically we have to add everything up. So x plus this, that will give you 3x plus this. So let me add everything. 13 plus 6 plus 3 plus 17 plus 15. That will be 54, right? And everything together we know it has to be equal to 78. So 3x have to be 78 minus 54. That will be 24. So finally x have to be the value of 8. Now x is the number of bus. So here bus only have to be 8. Now the thing here is we only have to understand what they are telling us. So basically understanding of English here is very important, right? So twice as many only bike use only, so as only use bus. So if you have bus as x, twice as many, so 2x for the bike. It will be in terms of that we can try to solve this equation. Anyways, that will be your question number 5. Now let's move on to question number 6. So here we have A, B, and C are points on the circumference of the circle of center O. Okay, now we have A and C are tangents to the circle. Good to know. So what can we derive from that information, which is A and C are tangents? We realize that if these two are tangents, it means that this angle right here and this angle right here has to be 90. So we can derive this one pretty easily. 90 minus 68 has to be 22. Has to be 22. So these two are the same because they are the radius of the circle, which means this is obviously have to be 68. And which also means this have to be what? Because here we have a triangle that will give you 180 minus 68 minus 68, that will give you 44. Which also means, or which we can find this as well, that will be 180 minus 22 minus 22, that will be 136. Okay, anyways, let's move on to the question now. So part 1, we have to find the angle AOC. So AOC has been found to be 136, as we have seen above, and find the angle AEC. AEC 44. That is part A of the question. Now for part B, we have find the three angles of the triangle ABC, and hence state the name of this special triangle. So let's find the angles of ABC. So we have A here, B here, and C here. Okay, so first thing first, we know that this angle has to be what? This is 46. Okay, and what else can we know? Let's see, what can we derive from this? So we can see this is the angle at the center, which will mean that the angle has to be half the size here. 136 divided by 2 have to be 68. 68 for this one. And we realize that this one is also 68. So which means these two have to be this. Have to be the same value, which means this and this side are the same. It will be an isosceles triangle. So according to our diagram, we realize that the angle ACB is equal to angle ABC as 68. Thus, we can confirm that triangle ABC is an isosceles triangle. Okay, so that will be my conclusion for the triangle. So the theory that I use here is that we know that the angle at center, so angle at center is always twice the angle at the circumference to find that value. Because they also, because they lie on the same arc of AC, so AC will be the arc, but here it is the angle on the arc of AC, but angle at center will be 2 times the angle at the circumference, and B here also lie on the same arc. Because of that, it will be valid for this theory. Okay, that will be my conclusion for question number 6. Now let's move on to question number 7. So here we have to answer again the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. So this one is a cumulative frequency question. So again, I don't have graph, so let me see what I can do. Okay, let me try to use this paper now. So let's do one by one. So here we have what? Here we have the table below shows the amount of time spent playing sport each week by 80 students. So everything together will be 80 students. Okay. Now part 1, we have to calculate an estimate for the mean time spent playing sport each week by students. Now this is an estimate of the mean, so pretty easy. We have to use the formula that we know, which is mean have to be equal to sum of fx over the number of people. Now x is the midpoint of groups. So now whenever you have groups, x will be the midpoint. That will be 1, 3, 5, 7, and 9. fx is simply frequency times x. That will be 20. That will be 93. 22 times 5. That will be 35, and that will be 18. So sum of everything will be what? 20 plus 93 plus 110 plus 35 plus 18. That will be 276. So mean estimate will be 276 divided by 80. That will be 3.45 as your answer for the estimate of the mean. Okay, so the main idea here is that whenever you have to estimate the mean, you have to use this formula right here and then find the midpoint. You have groups here, you don't have exact values, you have groups, you have to find the midpoint of each group and then find fx and then add the values here, divide by n to find the mean. Now for part B, we have to copy and complete the cumulative frequency table below. Pretty easy. So less than 2 is 20. Less than 4 will be this plus this, that will be 51. Less than 6 will be this plus this plus this, that will be 22 plus 51. That will be 73. Less than 8, we have to plus 5 to this, that will be 78. And finally, plus 2, that have to be 80. Confirm, because we have 80 people in total, that should be 80 as well. Pretty easy. Now for part C, this is the graph part, I think. So we have to use a horizontal scale of 1 to 1 and a vertical to 1 to 5 for 5 students. So we have to draw a cumulative frequency curve for this data. Okay. Again, the question that I have very often is, do I start from 0? Is it okay? The answer is yes. Why not? I would always advise to start from 0 whenever possible, obviously, because sometimes the data is not very, it doesn't help to start from 0. In this case, it is okay. We can try to start from 0. That is okay as well. No problem. Now, part D, we will have to use the graph to solve this question. So let me do this one by one. Again, I don't have a graph paper here, so I will try my best on this page right here to draw this for you. My time is from 2 to 10. I can start from 0 if I want to. So let me start from 0 here. Why not? So we have to do 1 to 1 on the x-axis. So 1 to 1 will be let me find some space just to make sure we have enough space for the y-axis. Something like this. Zero. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, so that will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. This is the horizontal axis for the time for 1 hour, right? Time per hour, according to the question. Now on the vertical axis, we have to use 1 to represent 5. So here we have 80 people, so 80 divided by 5, that should be 16. So we have to have 16 for the vertical axis. Again, feel free to skip this part because I'll just be drawing the scale and then plot the graph. So if you guys don't want to follow this part, feel free just to skip to the answer at the end of this question. Okay, that will be what? That will be 1. So this is 5, 10, 15, 20, 25, 30, 35, 40, 45, 50, 55, 60, then we have 65, 70, then finally 75 and 80. That will be the students, or you have to cumulative frequency of students. Okay, that will be my scale for this graph. Again, as you can see, I will try my best to make this become accurate as possible. However, it is always best to use a graph paper. The first point that I have is 2. So as you can see, we have 220. That's the first point. 220 will be well. $220. Then we have 451. 4 is right here. 51. 51 should be. This is 51 right here. Okay. Okay, so that will be a second point. Then we have 673. 6 will be 73 already. That will be on top. 70, 71, 2, 3. Then we have 8 will be 78. 78. That will be somewhere over here. 75. 76, 78. And then finally, 10 will be the value of 80. Okay, so let's try your best, or my best, to join these points by a smooth curve. Again, I'll try to, but I don't think I'm best at this. So you have to use a pencil usually. So this will be this. Not great. Close. Okay, you can go to 0 if you want to, no big deal. So the idea of this shape has to be always something like this. So I have to go up and go down. Something like this should be fine. Okay, that will be my graph that I obtained for this cumulative frequency curve. Now let's move on to the next question. So this is pretty easy till now. We just have to follow step by step and then find this one. So here we have to estimate the median. Median is the middle value, will be half of the number of people. That should be the 40th element. So we have to draw this on the graph. So where's 40? Let's go to 40 and let's find the corresponding value on the graph. So 40 will cut my curve somewhere over here, and that will go straight down below. So according to my graph, the reading will be what? So let's see. This is 3, that should be about 3.4. So my graph shows to be 3.4 hours for the reading. Now here we have to find the interquartile range, which is Q3 minus Q1. So Q3 is the upper quartile, which is 3/4 of 80, 60th element. And lower quartile will be 1/4 of 80, that will be the 20th element. So let's find those corresponding values. So first thing is 60th element, should be right here. Let's draw a line. And then find the corresponding values. Okay, so according to my reading, it should be what? So that'll be 4.2. So 4.2 will be this value right here. So which is the upper quartile is 4.2. Now the lower quartile will be the value at 20. 20 will be this one. 20 will be 2. Okay, so 2. So 4.2 minus 2, that should be 2.2 for the interquartile range as your answer. Again, the most important thing in this kind of question is to show how you find your answers. That's the most important thing. And also try your best to draw the graph by a smooth curve, and always use a pencil for graphs and curve sketches. Always going to be using a pencil for that. Okay, so let's move on to the next one. Here we have question number 8 from section B. This one is also a graph question, very strange, but okay. Answer the whole of this question on a sheet of graph paper. The table below shows some values of x and the corresponding value of y. Now the thing is that this question is almost guaranteed you guys will be having a very similar questions for your test. So you will have a graph question no matter what. So you have to understand how to proceed step by step, how to solve these kind of questions. Now part 1 is to find the value of p, pretty easy. P is this one, is the value of y, for which the value of x is 5. So replace the value of x in the equation. So y will be 12 divided by x, which is 5 minus 5. That should be 2 minus 2.6. Double check. divided by 5 minus 5. Yep, that will be the answer. That is part A of the question, pretty easy. Now part B, we have to use a scale of 2 centimeters for 1 on the horizontal axis, okay, and then use a scale of 1 to 1 on the vertical axis. So again, because I don't have a graph paper, I will try my best to draw this on this page. So I will not be using the scale because you will not see the graph correctly. I will use the scale that I can use to best show the whole graph. Again, this will not be, the scale will not be accurate, however the drawing will be just fine. So that will be 0 here until 6, so 12. That will be what? That will be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Okay, that will be the horizontal x values. Now for the y values, I can see it says it has to be from -4 to 14. That should be 18, which is a lot. Let me use what scale? Let me use a reasonable one so we can see at least the whole graph. These values right here. Again, feel free to skip because this is not very important right now because I'm not using the right scale because I want to show you guys the graph correctly on my video. That's the reason why I will not be using the correct scale. However, when you have a graph paper, you just have to use the scale correctly. No big deal. Now that will be what? That will be the value of -4 here. Here we have -2. Then we have 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14. So I'll stop right here, so that we can see the whole graph on my video. That's the main idea behind this. The first point is 111, so 111 will be somewhere in between, right here. Let me put a cross here. Then we have 2, 4. 2, 4 will be what? Will be somewhere over here. Then we have the value of 3, 1. 3, 1. Okay, then we have 4 minus 1, so minus 1 will be right here. When we have 5 minus 2.6, this is 3, so that will be what? 2.2, 2.6, 2.5 is right here, 2.6 should be right here, 2.6 right here. And then finally we have 6 will be minus 4. That should be, the last one is this one. Okay, so now we have all the points that we need. We can draw the graph correctly. Okay, so let's try your best to join them by a smooth curve. So it should be something like this, I think. So this is 11. Okay, that will be my graph according to the points given to me. So I will label this, sorry about that, label this as what? As y equal to 12 over x minus x. Okay, that will be my question, part 1. And the reason why I did this is because you can see the whole graph on the video. That's the main reason why. Again, the scale you have to use is on the question itself given to you. But now this is the back in the days in 2010. Nowadays, they give you the scale on your page, on the same page. They give you the graph even sometimes, so it is easier for you. Now let's move on to the question. So part C, what do we have to do? This is done. So part C, we have to use the graph. Again, use the graph to solve this equation. So one thing we have to realize is, where did we see this? This is the same as y. So we have to draw y equal to 2 to find the solution that we have. So let's draw this line. Y equal to 2, where's that line? It is a horizontal line right here. You have to label this obviously. And you have to show the corresponding value that you have for your point of intersection. So this will be the value of what? This is 2 here. So 2, 2.5, 2.6. That will be 2.6 according to my graph. So here the value here, solving, that will give me x is 2.6. Now for part D, the equation this can be solved using intersection of your curve and a straight line. Okay, so first thing first, state the equation of this straight line. So pretty easy. We have to use the curve. The curve is given to you by 12 over x minus x. Now in this equation, we see, where do we see this? 12 minus x. So here we have 12 minus x. Let's make this become subject. So 12 minus x is equal to y plus x. So replace this by this in this equation. So you will have y plus x is equal to 2x. So y will be equal to x. So we have to draw this line. This is the equation of the line that we have to draw. This is your answer for part 1. Now for part 2, by drawing this line, we have to solve this. So let's draw this line. Y equal to x will be what? Will be a line passing through the point 0, 0. And also the point 1, 1. So 1, 1 is well. 1, 1 should be somewhere over here. Right, 1, 1. And 2, 2 will be right here. So let's draw it. So that will be the line that we will have to draw to solve it. So that will be y equal to x. Have to find the point of intersection right here, which is this one. So let's find the corresponding value. This is so this is 2.5. I think that's the value. I have read this wrong. It should be what? This is 2.5. That should be 2.55 actually. 2.55. Not 6, but 2.55 as my value here. How about this one? Has to be 2.3, 2.4. 2.4 will be the value here for this one. Okay, so the solve this, x will be 2.4 and this will be 2.55 if I read my scale correctly. So you have to be careful reading your scale in the actual exam. Okay, now again, for these kind of questions, there's no perfect answer, I would say. They will provide you with a range of values that will be accepted in the marking schemes. As long as you draw your graph correctly and you show how you obtain your work, you should be getting some marks either way. Now we have the points A and B are this respectively. So this is the first point right here, 111, and 4 minus 1 will be this one. This is the point A and the point B. Okay, let's see what happens now. We have to find the gradient of this. Very easy. That will be gradient y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1. That will be minus 1 minus 11 divided by 3. That should be minus 4. Okay, what's next? So F, the line L is in the same direction as AB, okay, which means L, the gradient of L have to be minus 4. And is tangent to the curve this. So pretty easy. Now, first thing we can do is, we can first connect the points AB. The point A is this one. And the point B is where? It is the point 4 minus 1. Should be this one. So let's connect these two. So now again, you will be using a pencil. So obviously you will not be using a pen, right? You can always erase it afterwards. So let's connect these two. Now we know that this is the line AB. Now again, the line L is in the same direction, which means has the same gradient as AB. So it will be in the same kind of direction. Now it has to be a tangent to the circle. I mean, not circle, but to the graph. So the idea here is we have to kind of shift in the same direction until we touches the graph at only one place. As you can see, it will be right here. So this will be my line L. So label this as L for your equation. That is part 1 of the question. Now for part 2, we have to find the points where L crosses the y-axis. So pretty easy. It will cross at this point, which is you have to show your reading. That will be 0, 12 according to my graph. Okay, now part 1, hence find the equation of L. So pretty easy. We have a passing point, we have a gradient, we can find the equation pretty easily. That is my x value and my y value. So y minus the corresponding value over x minus its corresponding value should be giving you the gradient. Then we have to cross multiply. That will be y minus 12 minus 4x. Y has to be 12 minus 4x. This is my equation of the line L. Okay. Now again, this is it is not a tricky question. You just have to show exactly how you find your answers, and always show how you would do step by step, or how to show that how would you derive the values accordingly on the graph. This is the only way to actually get full marks on this question at least. Now your graph is very important. That's the first thing you have to focus on, and join them by a smooth curve using your pencil. And then the rest you just have to understand how to solve step by step. Okay, that will be your question number 8. Now let's move on to question number 9. So here we have a shape. It's a prism. Okay. Now the cross section OAB is a sector of a circle of radius 8, and the angle here is 90. Okay, the radius is 8 and the angle in between here is 90. So part 1 is we have to find the perimeter of the sector AOB. So we have to find the distance around the sector. So pretty easy. Perimeter have to be 8 here. Here also it is 8. And what is this one? This is AB. Pretty easy. We have to find the length of AB, which is the angle, over 360 times your formula, which is 2 pi r. R is given to you by 8. So let's solve. 1/4, which is 1/4 here, times 2 pi times 8 plus 8 plus 8. That will be 28.6 centimeters. 8 plus 8 plus 90 over 360 times 2 pi times 8. That will be this value. 28 plus 0.6. Now for part 2, the vessel, which stands on a flat ground, flat table, contains this much of water. Okay, as you can see, there's some water in this. We understand that this water is equal to, or the volume is equal to, 800 centimeters cube. Now part 1 is we have to find the depth of the water in the vessel. So how do you find the volume of a prism? Pretty easy. It is the area of cross-section times the height, or the depth in this case, have to give you the volume of the water in the prism. Now area of cross-section, pretty easy. It is area of a sector of a circle, which is equal to the angle over 360 times the what? The area of circle, pi, r square, which is 8 square. Then times d, we don't know, equal to 800. Solve for the value of d, which means we have to make d become the subject of formula. So that will be 1/4 times pi times 6/4 will give you this. So 800 divided by answer, that will give you d is 15.9. So d will be correct to 3SF will be what? 15.9 centimeters. Okay, you can always double check, because these kind of questions, it is not tricky, but you have to be careful when calculating your values. Okay, so that should be fine. Now let's move on to part B of the question. So here we have what? Diagram 2 and diagram 3. Okay, so the vessel is now placed so that its curved surface is in contact with the ground. Okay, good to know. As shown in diagram 2. Okay. Now part 3 shows the cross section of the vessel with the shaded section representing the water. I think this is the water right here. Right. Now it says P is a midpoint of the arc AB. So this is the midpoint of the arc AB, and is in contact with the table. Okay, good to know. Q is the point on the water surface. Okay. And MN, which is vertically above the point P. So this is exactly above the point P. This is 90 here, which means. Okay, so that's the first thing we can kind of realize from this. Now moving on, what else do we have? It is given that OQ, where's OQ? OQ is this. It is X centimeters. Okay, that's good to know. Now part 1, write down an expression in terms of X for MN. MN, where's MN? MN is this one. So what can we write for MN? So if you observe, what can we see in this question? So we realize that we have what here? We have, so let me break this down as much as I can at least. So if this is 8, this will also have to be 8 because they are the radius. Right. That's something we can see. Now, what else? OP also have to be 8, if that makes sense, because this is also the radius, which means this have to be, QP has to be 8 minus X. Something we can derive almost right away. Then what else can we derive? We know that this is 90 here, and this is 90 here obviously, and what else can we see? This has to be 45, and this has to be 45, because it is exactly above. This is 90, this one's have to be 45, 45. So let me just try to redraw this, just to make sure everything is okay, because it's pretty small and it's kind of confusing, I would say. Let me try to redraw this on this page and see what do we have, right? So here we have a triangle right now on top, right? This is 90, and here we have a line which passes through the center. Okay, it's not perfect, but the idea here is we should be able to derive something. Now because this is the water level, has to be horizontal, this is vertical, we understand this has to be 90. Now we are given that this is X, right? Because we know this is the midpoint as well, because P was a midpoint, this will have to be exactly half, which means this have to be 45 right here. So what is the value of this one? It's pretty easy. The third angle of a triangle is also have to be 45. Okay, now I see. So basically it means these two have to be the same. 45, 45, X will be X as well. So here we have the point M, N, and we have the point so X here. So obviously this is 90 as well, and these two are the same, so this will be also X, right? So MN has to be 2X according to the diagram. I think I confused myself here over here, but as you can see in the big one, we understand that this have to be the same as this. So this is not okay, this is not okay, this are the same, this are the same, because it is exactly in half. 45 here, third angle obviously will have to be 45, so 45, 45 means this one is an isosceles triangle, so X, 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 this will have to be 2X. So 2X will be your answer over this one. Now for part B, we have to what? We have to show that the diagram 3, the area is this one. So how would you find the area of the water? So you will take the whole thing first and minus the triangle, right? That's the main idea behind. So the whole thing will be what? Will be the angle, which is 90 over 360 times pi r square, which is 8 square. That will be what? Let's see. So 90 over 360 will be 1 over 4 times this will be square. That will be 16. So 16 pi will be the area of the whole thing. Now what is the area of the triangle that we don't want? It will be half times base, which is 2x, and times height, which is x. That will give you x squared. So from this we can conclude that the area has to be 16 pi minus x squared for the water only. Step by step, you will find this answer, right? Now for part 2, let's see what do we have. So the vessel still contains this much water. So everything again, it is volume has to be 800, right? Now given the length of the vessel is 20, find the value of x. Okay, so the length of the vessel, so the whole thing here, has to be 20. So how usually you would find the volume of a prism? You will do what? The area of cross section, which we found was this one, 16 pi minus x squared, times the length, which is 20, have to give you 800. This is how you would find usually the volume of a prism. Area of cross section, which is this, times the length. Now we have to solve for the value of x. So step by step, you will have what? The first thing, cancel this one, divide by 2, that will be 40. You will have x squared is equal to 16 pi minus 40. So x have to be what? 16 pi minus 40 will be this. X will be root of that will give you 3.20, correct to 3SF. So 3.20 centimeters, correct to 3SF. And that will be your question number 9. Again, the questions are not tricky, we just have to observe carefully, proceed step by step to find the answers. Okay, so let's move on to question number 10. So here we have what? Here we have A, B, C, D, F, G, H is an octagon, which is 8 side, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So 8 side shape with exactly 2 lines of symmetry. So okay, that is good to know, which means this is the same as this. So this will reflect here. That will be also 140, 140, and 140, if that makes sense. This will be 90, 90, 90, and 90. Okay, that's the first thing we can actually derive from this question. So this is 90 as well, 90, 90, and 90. Okay, this is also 90 right here. This is 90 as well, and 90. Okay, so we almost have everything we need now. Okay, let's move on to the questions. Now, these are shown as by the dashed line PQ and RS as the which intersects O at O, and we all know the angle is 140. Okay, good to know. Now part 1, we have to find the angle EFG. So where's E? EFG. This will also be 140 by using the symmetry of the diagram. Now we have to find FGH. FGH. So we have to find this one. So pretty easy. If you look at the shape ROQ, so we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 5 side minus 2 times 180. That will give you the sum of the angles in this shape. 8 times 180, that will give you 540. Sorry, 540 for the sum of all the angles inside of this shape. Now, this is 90, this is 90, this is 90, and this is 140. So which means we can find this by subtraction. So 3 times 90 will be 270 plus 140 and plus the angle G right here, supposed to give you 540. So G have to be what? 540 minus 270 minus 140. That will give you 130 as your answer. So 130 will be the value of G. So the main thing we have to know here is how do you find the sum of all the angles of a shape? So here we have ROQFG, so 5 side, number of sides, minus 2 times 180. That will give you the sum of the angles in a shape that we want to find the angles for. So this is a formula you have to know when solving this kind of question. Now for part B, the following shows part of the octagon. Great to know. Now moving on, T is a point on such that PT and TS are perpendicular. So P is a point such that PT and TS are perpendicular. Great. Now we have PB is 50 BT is 23, CS is 20. Okay. Now part 1 is to calculate the length of CT. So find CT. So pretty easy. If you want to take out this triangle BTC, this is 23, this is 90, and we're trying to find this one. Now, something we can derive is this one. What is the size of this angle? That will be 180 minus 140. That will be 40, right? This will be 40. Now, right now we have a right angle triangle, so obviously we can use SOHCAHTOA to find this side. So, we know the A side, and we're trying to find the hypotenuse. We have to use cos. Cos of 40 is equal to the A side, which is 23, over, sorry, this is not, we're not trying to find this one, my apologies, I made a mistake. We're trying to find the opposite side, not the hypotenuse in this case, so we have to use 10. Let me write this down here. So 10 of the angle 40 equal to the opposite side, which is CT over 23. So CT, we just have to multiply there, you will have the answer. Tan of 40 times 23, that will give you 19.3. Correct to 3SF. So CT 19.3 centimeters. Correct to 3SF. Now for part 2, calculate the area of the pentagon PBCSO. So we have to find the area of this shape. Now we can break this down into pieces, obviously, to help us find the area. So let's do that. We can break this down here if you want to. Okay, so we have number 1 and number 2. Number 1 is simply a rectangle. That will be length times width. The height here will be what? So the width, that will be this plus this. That will be 39.3 multiplied by 50. Plus number 2 will be this and this. This is 2 are in the same direction. That will be half of the sum of the that will be, of course, I'm using the formula for trapezium, area of trapezium, so we have to add these two, the sum of the parallel sides. That will be 39.3 and plus 20, and times the height in between, that will be 23. Okay, so that will give me the area of that shape. So 39.3, let's check, 19.3 plus 20, that will be 39.3, times 50 plus half, so it's answer plus 20 times 23. That will give you 2646.95. So you can write this, or you can write to 3SF. That will give you 2650. That will be centimeters square for the area of the pentagon. Okay, so PBCSO. Okay, that is part 2 of the question. Now for part 3, hence we have to find the area of the octagon. So pretty easy. This is part of this. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4. So times 4 will give you what? Give you this. So that will be 10, 5, 8, 7.8. Now if you want to 3SF, that will be 10600. That will be the area of the octagon in the first place. So in this question, you just have to understand what to use and step by step break it down to see how you can use those values to find the corresponding answers. Now let's move on to part 4 of the question. Now, the shape ABCDEFGH is cut from a rectangular piece of card, as we can see on the diagram, where the length and the breadth measured in centimeters are integers. So integer are whole numbers. Whole numbers, we have to kind of take this into account. Now, the remaining of the card is wasted. Okay, the card is wasted. The card that is wasted must be kept to a minimum. Okay, that's the goal of this process or procedure. Now, part 1, we have to find the length and the breadth of the piece. So we have to find the length and the breadth of the rectangular piece of card. Okay, pretty easy. So according to all this we have seen, so we know that this has to be what? this was found to be. So from here, right, from here, let me kind of draw this as well so we can have an idea. Let me kind of draw this shape. Right, so we can actually have a better understanding of what to use or what's happening to help us. Right, so this will be the lines of symmetry. Again, it's not accurate, but you get the idea behind this, what I'm doing. So from here, we understand that if you were to continue this line, for example, we understand that this height has to be what? As you can see, from this point, this was S, right, S, to this line has to be 39.3, which means from this to this, the whole thing right here has to be what? Has to be 39.3 times 2, has to be at least 78.6. So what is the next integer number from this? You realize that the next integer would simply be what? Be 79, right? That's the integer number. It cannot be 78.6. It cannot be 78 because it will be too small. So 79 will be the next integer value that we can use to cut at least the width from. Now, using the same understanding, let's proceed for this length. So we can see that the length is what we are expecting. That will be what? That will be 50 plus this. 50 plus 23, that should be 73. So 73 will be this one, which means the whole thing has to be times 2, 146. Now these two doesn't have any space, so it has to be exactly the value. That will be 79 for the width and 146 for the length. Again, this is simply by construction. Step by step, we observe and we kind of measure what we need to find the value. Now for part B, we have to find the area that is wasted. So pretty easy. Since we found the area of the octagon was this much, let's find the area of the whole thing. Rectangle will be length, which is 146 times 79. That will be 11534 minus this one. Again, we have to use as much as we can exact values, so our final answer will be correct. That will be 1058. So 10,587.8. So 11,534 minus answer, that should give you minus 10,587.8, that will give you 946.2. So 3SF, that will be 946 for the area that has been wasted. Okay, take the whole thing minus the area of the octagon, and obviously use the most accurate answer as you can to find these values. That will be a question number 10. So let's move on to question number 11. I think I did this question already, but anyways, let's do it again. So we have triangles A, B, C, D given to you on this diagram, as we can see, A, B, C, and D. Now part 1, triangle A is mapped onto triangle B, okay, by translation T. It tells you already what is the type of transformation. We know it is translation. So write down the column vector of T. So from A to B. So we just count. We know this point became this point. So let's count. It will be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So basically it will be 6 and minus 5. So we always consider moving to the right as the positive value and down as the negative. Okay? That's why it will be plus 6 and minus 5. If you were to go up, it will be positive. If you were to go left, it will be negative as well. But this is part 1 of the answer. Now, part 2. Describe fully the single transformation that maps A onto C. A onto C. As you can see, the size has changed, so obviously I will assume it will be what? It will be simply a enlargement. Then let's find the center of enlargement. So these two are the corresponding points. We join them. And these two are also the corresponding point. Let's join them. So you see they meet right here. So this is your center, which is 4, 1 as the center of enlargement. Now what is the scale factor? The scale factor will be what? So let's see, from this we had 2 here, became 1, so it will be half. So it will be an enlargement, center 4, 1 as we can see, and scale factor have to be half. That will be 3 marks, 3 points you need to show. Now for part 3, triangle A is mapped onto triangle D by a single transformation. What is the name of this transformation? So A onto D. So again, this will be a stretch in this case. We don't need to know that in this, I think in this here, we don't need to know stretch or shear anyways. So you're good, you don't need to know that. Now for part 4, triangle D has a line of symmetry. Find the equation of the line of symmetry. So triangle D is this one. Okay. Now we have to find the line of the equation of that symmetry. Or triangle D, if you observe the symmetry, the line has to be going through right in between the triangle, so that it will have this line of symmetry. Now, what is the equation of this line? Pretty easy. We just have to use 2 points on the line. We can use this point, and we can use this point. So let's use those points. That will be the first point is what? Minus 1, 0. And this one has to be minus 4 and minus 3. So let's find the gradient. That will be what? So y2 minus y1 over this minus x1. That will be minus 3 over minus 3. That should be the value of 1. So we know the gradient, we know the passing point. We can find the equation. So y minus this corresponding value. We are using this point. X minus minus 1 will be plus 1 equal to the gradient. So y has to be x plus 1. So this equation will be y equal to x plus 1 as the equation of that line. That's all we're trying to find right here for question part 4. Now for part B, we have K. K is a point PQ, okay? Now the transformation U is represented by this matrix, okay? Now this transformation maps the point K into the point L. Find this. So pretty easy. The main idea is that it is matrix times object will give you image. Matrix is given to you by this. An object is given to you by PQ. Image will be what? Will be this. That will be minus Q and minus P. So the point L will be minus Q and minus P. Okay. Now for part 2, the transformation V is a rotation clockwise about the point O. Okay. Now the maps K onto M. Find the point M. So pretty easy. So for example, we could find the matrix of this rotation. So the way we find this is we have to use this method. We always begin with the axis. We begin with this first point here is what it is, 1, 0 and 0, 1. We always begin with those two points, and we begin with this one. We also label this for now. That will be 0, minus 1. And this is minus 1, 0. Okay. Now we always begin with this one. What happens to this point after rotating 90 clockwise? Clockwise is in this direction. So this point will become this point. So we will have to write 0, minus 1. And then we have to look at this point. So this point will become this point by this rotation, will be 1, 0. So this is the matrix representing this transformation. So let's write this down. Matrix times object. So we have 0, minus 1, 1, 0 times object is PQ. Let's see what happens. That will become Q and minus P. So the point M has to be Q minus P. This is one way of showing that. Now let's move on. Part 3. The point L is mapped onto the point M by a single transformation W. Find the matrix that represent this one. So let's first use an example, right? Let me choose the point, for example, I can choose a point L. Let me choose a point K to begin with. I will choose K. Let me choose K as the point 2, 2. Why not? 2, 2. Now L will become minus 2, minus 2. So the point was 2, 2 first. Became minus 2, minus 2 will be right here. Okay. And then finally the point become 2, minus 2. Become 2, minus 2. Okay, so we are trying to find the transformation that maps L onto M. L onto M. So we're trying to find L, this is M, this mapping onto this. As you can see by observation, this is simply what? Simply a reflection on the y-axis, right? To get this one. So we have to find the matrix representing the reflection on the y-axis. So again, the same method we're going to use to find this. So using the axis, which is y and x. Begin with this point. This is your point 1, 0. This is 0, 1. Then we have this one, which is 0, minus 1. And this one, which is minus 1, 0. This is just the points here, as you can see right here. Now, we always begin with this one. If you were to reflect this one over the y-axis, it will become this one. So the first will be minus 1, 0. Then this one will be the same, will not move. So you will have this as the matrix that we're trying to look for the reflection on the y-axis. That will be W have to be minus 1, 0, 0, 1. Okay. So again, just the main concept, we always begin with this first point. We ask ourselves, if you were to reflect this over the y-axis, what will happen? You realize that reflecting that over this will give you this point. So that's why we write this point as the first one right here. And then moving on to this one, what happens if you reflect over the same line? Since it is on the line already, it will not move. So it will be this one, same thing as well. So this will be the matrix W for reflection over the y-axis. And that is your question number 11. Okay, so let's move on to question number 12. So here we have 12a. It is a vectors question, I believe. So in the diagram, OPQR is a parallelogram, which means this OPQR, so this and this are the same direction and the same length, and this and this are also the same direction and the same length. That's what it means. Okay. Now we have OP equal to P and Q. OQ is equal to Q. Okay, given to you on the diagram as well. Now S is the point on OP such that the ratio of OS and SP is 1 to 3. This is 1, 2, 2, 3. So everything together will be what? 1 plus 3 is 4. Okay. Now T is the midpoint of OR, which means this is T or okay, this will be 1 and 1, 1 and 1. So everything will be 2 together. Okay, let's move on to the question. So given your answers in the simplest form of in terms of P and Q, find QP. So what is QP? From Q moving to P. So Q moving to P. So as you can see, Q we have to move to O, and O moving to P. So QO will be in the opposite direction of this. That will be minus Q and plus P. That will be P minus Q. Now we have to find the value of TS. So T going to S. That will be T going to O, and then O going to S. So step by step. So how will we find the value first? We have to first find out the value of OR. To find TO, we must first find OR. So OR, we realize it is the same as PQ because they are in the same direction. That's the reason why it is up. Because we are given the type of diagram we have, because we know this is the same direction as this. So finding this is the same as finding this. Right. Now OR is what? Sorry, PQ is equal to, here we have QP, same thing. QP will be what? So QP, we can just flip this. So instead of finding this, let's find something else. Let's find QP will be in this direction. Let's find OO. So OO will be the same as QP. Same thing as this. It is just for it to be easier. That's why I'm doing this. Now QP will be P minus Q. Now we know that this is also the same as this. Now given that TO is halfway, is the midpoint of RO, so it has to be, TO has to be half of this. So replace, that will be half P minus half Q. Now plus OS. OS is 1, 2, 3. So plus OS is 1 over the everything will be 4 times P, that will be this one, OP. So the ratio is what? It is OS over OP has to be 1 over 4. That makes sense. From this we can derive this. So we have OS will be 1 over 4 times OP, which is P. So now simplify. That will give you 3 over 4P minus this as your value, 4TS in its simplest form. Again, this is based on the diagram. Step by step, you should be able to solve this. It may have been pretty fast. I may have explained this pretty fast, but it is always according to the diagram in this case. Now let's move on to part B. In triangle WXY, WX is 24 and WY is 17, and we also have the angle. Part 1 is to find the area of this triangle. Pretty easy. Using your formula here will be half times sine of the angle times the two sides around the angle. This is the other formula we have to know for area of triangle. Half times sine of 5 times 24 times 17. That will be 167, correct to 3SF. That will be centimeters square. Now we have to find xy, will be this one. We have to use the cosine rule. So that will be cosine of the angle 5 is equal to 24 square plus 17 square. That will be 865 minus xy square over 2 times 17 times 24. That will be 816. Again, this is a formula you have to know for cosine rule. We use cosine rule when we know the angle in between and the two sides around the angle. We're trying to find the third side. So that's when we use the cosine rule. Now we have to solve for this one. So xy squared will be what? That will be 816 times cos of 55. That will be this. So 865 minus answer, that will be 396 point this one. Xy will be root of that. That will be 19.9. That will be your answer right here for xy. Let's move on to part 2. So volume of the pyramid is equal to 1/3 the area of the base and times the height. Okay. Now the triangle WXY shown from diagram 1, the same thing from here, forms the base of the pyramid. Okay, good to know. Now we have what? We have the vertex V is vertically above Z. Okay, and what else? And a point on WX. Okay, good to know. And then we know that WV is 15 and WZ is 1/4 of WX. So WZ will be this one. 1/4 WX is given to you by 24. So which means what? 1/4 of 24 will be 6. WZ is 6. Now we have to find VZ. So pretty easy. So if you take out the triangle, this is 90, this is 15, this is 6. So we can find this pretty easily by using the Pythagoras theorem. Let's call this x. You will have 6 square plus x square have to be 15 square. So x square have to be what? Have to be 15 square minus 6 square. That will be 189. So x will be root of that. That will give you 13.7. So that will be 13.7 centimeters. Correct to 3SF. Hence, we have to find the volume of the pyramid, pretty easy, using this formula right here. That will be 1/3 times the base area that we have found before will be 167 and times 13.7. So times 167 times 1/3. That will be 765, correct to 3SF, for the volume of this pyramid. I think this is one of the easiest questions from the paper. So anyways, that was the last question. I hope that was somewhat helpful. As always, thank you for watching, and I will see you soon.